Hello, seniors! I'm glad that you are able to view this instructional video and that proves you are interested to learn research. May this video provide you with memorable learning as you go through Practical Research 1. Happy learning! Our lesson today is the problem and its background. At the end of this lesson, you should be able to provide the justifications and reasons for conducting the research, state research questions, indicate scope and delimitation of research, and cite benefits and beneficiaries of research. Here is the lesson outline. Rationale of the study, research questions, scope and delimitation of research, and significance of the study. In this lesson, you will learn about the rationale of the study. It is one of the major components in the introductory part of your research paper. With this, let us first define what rationale is. According to Merriam-Webster, a rationale is an explanation of controlling principles of opinion, belief, practice, or phenomena. Number 2, it is an underlying reason or basis. In the context of research writing, a rationale pertains to the reasons why the study must be conducted. Such justification is provided by the researcher to highlight the significant points of the problem to be addressed in the study. Now that you already have a glimpse of what rationale is, let us dig deeper on how it is used in research. As a student researcher, you have to determine the sense of all the things you plan to do in your proposed study. Consider the following questions. Is there a need to conduct a study about your chosen research topic? Does it pose a significant research problem? Does it matter to your academic discipline? If your answers in the previously asked questions are yes, then that can be a good starting point for establishing the rationale of your study. Research justification is considered as the initial step in writing a research paper. This step involves the skill on how the researcher will provide the readers with critical background or contextual information that introduces the research topic. Moreover, it needs to indicate the reasons why the proposed research actually matters. In doing so, the researcher must be able to get the audience's attention right from the introduction. Moving on, let's have the components of the rationale of the study. First, existing literature. A background on what researches have already been done about the given subject. Second component is the relevance to local or global context. Situational interconnectedness of individuals or things in varying perspectives. Third, critical background or contextual information. Circumstances forming a background of an event, idea, or subject that enables the readers to understand the nature of the problem. Fourth, research gap. Problems, issues, or questions that have not been addressed or are yet to be understood. Proof of urgency is the fifth component, an urgent need to solve the existing problem. Research goal or objective, the purpose why there is a need for the proposed study to be conducted. Here are some questions to be considered in presenting justifications. Why is this research important? What real-life or everyday problem, issue, or question does the research relate to? Can people relate to the problem in local or global context? What benefit does the research promise? Are the units of analysis and observation clearly identified? What does the researcher hope to find out? What was wrong or incomplete about prior efforts already conducted? Does the research extend understanding of the phenomena being investigated? Does it elaborate or fill in the gaps in the present knowledge? And what is the research ultimately trying to achieve? Consider the following examples of rationale of the study. The educated citizen, cultural and gender capital in the schooling of ATA's children in the municipality of Haniway by Moralista and De la Riarte in 2014. Let me read this. Republic Act Number 8371 is an act to recognize, protect, and promote the rights of indigenous cultural communities or indigenous peoples, created the National Commission on Indigenous Peoples, established implementing mechanisms, appropriated funds therefore, and for other purposes. Enacted by the Senate and House of Representatives of the Philippines and Congress in 1997. This act is known as the Indigenous Peoples' Rights Act of 1997. The state shall recognize and promote all the rights of indigenous cultural communities or indigenous peoples or ICCs or IPs as enumerated within the framework of the Constitution. Towards these ends, the state shall institute and establish the necessary mechanisms to enforce and guarantee the realization of these rights, taking into consideration their customs, traditions, values, beliefs, interests, and institutions, and to adopt and implement measures to protect the rights to their ancestral domains. Public of the Philippines, Congress of the Philippines, 3rd Regular Session Number 1728, House Bill Number 9127 in 1997. The state recognizes its obligations to respond to the strong expression of the ICCs or IPs for cultural integrity by assuring maximum ICC and IP participation in the direction of education, health, as well as other services of ICCs, IPs in order to render such services more responsive to the needs and desires of these communities. The UN Declaration of Human Rights, especially on education, and the 1987 Constitution of the Republic of the Philippines are among the foundations on which this study was anchored. As educators, the researchers are curious about the plight of the ATAs, their hopes, and how they see education in relation to their own indigenous culture. This study aims to understand the cultural practices of ATAs, children in the municipality of Haniway, to investigate the gender capital in the schooling of ATAs children in the municipality of Haniway, determine the ATAs' role in preserving their cultural practices as influence. Here is another example of rationale of the study, for you to have a simpler idea on how to make one. It is labeled with the components that you need to include in justifying the reasons for conducting your proposed study. You can use this as a guide in composing a write-up for your own rationale. Let me read this. President Rodrigo Roa Duterte's political speeches, a critical discourse analysis by Remorosa in 2018. Let's start with existing literature. A message from the president is given almost unparalleled importance in contrast to other communications. Speeches and addresses of any sort should therefore be read as statements of presidential power, and they are all attempts to assert the power of the presidency in some way, either through policy proposal, attempts to move public opinion through appeals to the people, or direct address to specific audiences. Relevance to local and global context. The present study is concerned with investigating an aspect of discourse that has not received adequate attention within the Philippine political discourse, The absence of a research study in the national and local setting has prompted more the researcher to conduct this investigation. Critical background or contextual information. It has been found out that due to the pressure of media and its effort to catch the attention of their consumers, the traditional view of political speeches has been changing and is now nearer to the everyday informal speech. Political speeches should therefore be only not interesting but also entertaining so as to be enticing to media holders who have the privilege of what would be presented and how. Next, for the research gap, the researcher has noticed that analysis of oral text, particularly in political speeches as a discourse, have been rarely studied by CDA researchers. Thus, Wang in 2010 calls for more attention to CDA studies since they can help explore the relationship between language, ideology, and power. For the proof of urgency, there is an urgent need to pursue this research because the Philippines is now facing a great change in administrative reform. And for the research goal and objective, thus, it is in the realm to listen to the core messages of the current president and to understand his plans as well as visions to uplift the life of every constituent and the country as the whole. Through critical discourse analysis, this study aims to bring understanding on the discourse of politics as well as power and dominance. For every problem, there would be an answer, and for every answer, there could be a question. A problem without a clear question in mind is like you are seeking for an answer in a directionless manner. Hence, as a student researcher, you must remember that establishing research questions may guide you in your quest to address some academic issues. Remember that these questions may serve as your compass, as if you were navigating at sea in order to reach the target destination. Similar to a house which requires appropriate tools in order to be repaired, a research problem also demands appropriate research questions in order to be answered. As a starting student researcher, you must recognize that one of the keys to a successful research study is by concretizing the problem through carefully crafting its research questions. Hence, your understanding towards the do's and don'ts in writing a research problem and its corresponding questions should be considered. After the researcher has clearly presented the rationale of the problem, the formulation of the targeted and well-defined problem must follow. This well-defined problem is commonly pertained to the statement of the problem. Stating clearly the problem can make the vagueness of the study be clarified. Further, this section allows the researcher to present other essential elements of research undertaking such as the major variables, objectives, and appropriate methodology. In formulating the problem statement in a research paper, there are two types of problems which should be considered. These are the general problem and the specific problems. General problem pertains to the opening paragraph that gives specific details on other essential elements which are the purpose, major variables, participants, setting, and time coverage of the study. The said elements serve as a guide in order to properly formulate the general problem. Cristobal and Cristobal in 2017 from their book Practical Research 1 for Senior High School presented guidelines in the writing of the general problem. These are as follows. 1. The general problem should clearly state the main task of the researcher. 2. The general problem should present a major variable or variables related to the phenomenon to be investigated. 3. The general problem should identify the participants of the study. 4th, the general problem should state the research setting as well as the time period of the study. And The general problem may indicate the intended output of the study, such as an intervention program, module, policies, etc. An example of a general problem is this. This study aims to determine the functions of emojis in an online communication. The study was conducted among the different strands of grade 11 students in the senior high school department of Lamao National High School during the school year 2019 to 2020. The result of the study was used as a basis for proposing a learning content presentation strategy in language teaching. Okay, so let's dissect the information needed. The main task is to determine the major variables, functions, emojis, and online communication. Participants, grade 11 students. Lamao National High School is the setting. The time period is school year 2019 to 2020. And the intended output is learning content presentation strategy in language teaching. After formulating the general problem of the study, enumeration of its specific problems should follow. Unlike the general problem, which is stated in a declarative form, the specific problems are stated as questions. These formulated questions, moreover, should all be anchored on the general problem. With this, the researcher will be guided on how he or she will seek an answer to the problem. In addition, the researcher must also know that a specific question to be formulated must be a researchable question, that is, it should begin with words such as what and how. In this case, the researcher may be able to solicit responses which can ensure detailed data necessary to the study. Non-researchable questions, as in those which are answerable by yes or no, should be avoided. Examples of non-researchable and researchable questions are presented here. For the non-researchable questions, do the participants use social media platforms for their communication purposes? Second, non-researchable question, are the participants using emojis in their online communication? Can the participants understand the meaning of emojis used in conversations? Will the emojis be used for a language content learning presentation strategy? Again, this type of questions should be avoided. For the researchable questions, what are the most frequently used emojis by the participants in the corpus? What are the pragmatic functions of emojis in the corpus? How do multiple emojis affect the meaning of the discourse? What learning content presentation strategy can be proposed based on the results of the study? Earlier, you have learned to formulate research questions. Now, you will be making the scope and delimitation of your research. The scope and delimitation is a specific part that summarizes the method, design, techniques, local, instruments, population, process in analyzing the data, and the like. Gear up yourself because you will learn the components of scope and delimitation. Scope and delimitation is an informative part of your research. It is informative because it is to where you declare the things you have to carry out and follow through the course of research. I am sure you are wondering why there is a need for us to declare all of this to our readers. Likewise, you are puzzled what are the elements of your research that are needed to be included. Well, let us deal with them one by one. Let us first dissect scope and delimitation. When we talk about the scope of research, it commonly refers to the depth of the research area or parameters. This includes restriction of the target population, research local, specified duration, design, procedure, and instrument used. Population. According to Mahid in 2018, this stands for the entire pool from which the sample is drawn. Examples: schools operating in Batangas, private and public, senior high school students of a school, grade 10 students in a school division, tricycle drivers operating in a barangay, all working students in a grade level. Number 2 is research local. This refers to the particular location where the study is conducted. Examples are Santa Clara Integrated National High School, Schools Division of Batangas, San Miguel City of Santo Tomas, Batangas, Santo Tomas Senior High School, Purok 4 San Bartolome. Third, specific duration. This stands for the exclusive time frame when the research is conducted. Consider these examples: May 20 to 22, 2020, school year 2020 to 2021, from 2015 to 2020, from January 2020 to May 2022, from 9 a.m. to 12 midnight. Research method refers to the systematic plan for conducting research, which includes strategies, process, techniques, and procedures for collecting and analyzing data, according to MacDonald and Headlam 2008. There are 4 most commonly used qualitative designs that you can use. First, ethnography. If your research is about a description or investigation about customs of individual and culture, this design can be used, according to Ellis and Buckner in 1996. Phenomenology. If your research is about the commonality of lived experience within a group of individuals or description of a particular phenomenon, this research design can be used, according to Singh in 2018. Third, case study. If your research is about an investigation of a phenomenon within the context of real-life situation, you can use this design, according to Kotari 2004. Grounded theory. If your research aims toward the development of a theory in an inductive manner, you can use this design, according to Van der Stoep and Johnston in 2009. Fifth, protocols followed. This refers to the standard procedure, system, or rules that you follow in gathering data. It can be the permission in the conduct of the study, communication letter to the respondents, or agreement on the conduct of interview. 6. Data gathering procedure. This refers to the step-by-step procedures that you employ before and during the data gathering. 7. Instrument. These are measurement devices that you use in your research. It can be in the form of test, survey, questionnaire, and the like. However, in qualitative research, you as the researcher is the instrument, and your interview guide serves as a tool in gathering the data, according to Barami, Soleimani, Yaghoub Sadeh, and Ranbar in 2016. 8. Data analysis. These are the systematical processes you employ to describe or interpret your data. It can be thematic network analysis, dendrogramming, structural analysis, text analysis, and collision procedure. On the other hand, when we talk about delimitation, it refers to choices made by the researcher that serves as boundary, according to Simon in 2011. This includes research objectives, questions, variables, theoretical objectives adapted, target samples, and justifications that limits the scope of the study. Commonly, research objectives and description of variables are mentioned, while research questions are just reflected on the set objectives. Variables are also explained and declared, as well as the theoretical objectives of the study. On the other hand, sampling method target sample size, and justifications in choosing the above-mentioned scope are provided to clearly set the parameter of the study. In some researches, instead of scope and delimitation, they use scope and limitation. The term limitation is about the external and internal influences that the researcher has no control of. They can be shortcomings, conditions, or influences that cannot be avoided due to the limitation of the study. Thus, these limitations is a declaration of the possible influences to the result of the study. Cristobal and Cristobal in 2017 states that research is a very noble undertaking if it makes significant contributions to the community and to the academic field or discipline where the researcher is affiliated with. This is basically the reason why the researcher needs to determine the relevance of the study. It should apparently identify the purpose that the research will serve and how it will contribute to the society, the country, the government, the institution or agency concerned, and the research community. Under this section of the research paper, the researcher must be able to present a valuable contribution of the study to a particular body of knowledge or area of specialization. As Cristobal and Cristobal 2017 noted, it could be in the form of a new knowledge in the field, analysis of trends over time, validation of other findings using different methodologies, confirmation of the major findings of other studies, and verification of the validity of findings in a different population. After identifying the general significance of the study, the researcher also has to determine the beneficiaries who will directly gain from the results of the study. They may be classified as academic or non-academic. Academic beneficiaries may include educational staff, teachers, students, and researchers, while non-academic beneficiaries may include stakeholders, policymakers, agencies, and organizations. They should be specifically listed according to the significance of the study's results to them. Moreover, the researcher needs to cite the particular benefits that the beneficiaries will gain from the study. They refer to all advantages to be obtained by those directly involved, especially the researchers and research users, all of which can be manifested as demonstrable contribution of the said research, the specialized field, or to the community. Such benefits may be classified as educational, professional, and personal as shown in the following slides. For educational benefits, learning about issues and methods in the chosen field, furthering creative and scholastic achievement, applying concepts from courses to real-life situations, and sharpening problem-solving skills. For professional benefits, exploring potential careers, learning new specialized techniques and skills, enhancing professional communication skills, and networking same interest with others. And for personal benefits, building confidence and independence, promoting critical thinking, and enhancing awareness. Study the following significance of the study. Research title is The Media's Influence to the Millennials, Retrospecting Academic Performance and Media Exposure by Sonsona 2017. It started with the general significance. The results of the study will be significant in presenting the intertwining power of media in today's youth and the technological advances that brought a niche in their lives. Beneficiaries: school administrators, teachers, parents, and students. And the benefits: for the school administrators, the findings of the study will help them realize the strengths and weaknesses of the students on their media access, habits, and preferences. The findings can be further used as a springboard in putting up faculty enrichment programs that will help enhance teaching strategies for improving the level of students' academic performance through the improvement of their media-based curriculum. For the teachers, Since teachers greatly influence the development of their students, they may find this study useful in discovering ways and means to improve their communication degree program instruction and to enrich students' learning experiences through proper utilization of the different forms of media. For the parents, results of the study will develop awareness of the importance of the role for the enhancement of their child's academic progress at home and for them to be able to guide them properly considering the number of hours they have accessed, spent, and availed of media. For the students, they will surely benefit from this research work as they will be able to realize the importance of proper time management, which may include televiewing hours among others and study hours in order to improve their academic performance. Another example of a significance of the study. English-only policy, its influence on pre-baccalaureate maritime students' English language proficiency by Labrador 2019. General significance. This research will determine the significant contribution of the implementation of English-only policy in senior high schools offering the specialized marine strand as a preparatory stage of pre-maritime students for their baccalaureate degree. Beneficiaries: pre-baccalaureate maritime students, senior high school students, curriculum developers, and other researchers. Some of the benefits: the study will help them in preparing themselves for a language-restricted environment in an international marine institution. Another one, for the senior high school teachers. The study will provide the senior high school teachers a clear picture of the meaningful impact of English-only policy in classroom instruction. A benefit for curriculum developers. The findings of the study may serve as a basis for strictly implementing English-only policy not only for pre-baccalaureate maritime classes, but also for specialized strands that necessitate the use of English language in their future career. Okay? And for other researchers, this research can be source of another study or can be replicated using additional variables in another local or setting or with different respondents. That's the end of our lesson today. It's been my pleasure teaching you one of the amazing topics of Practical Research 1, and I really hope you learned something from this video lesson. Thank you and may God bless us all. Let's meet again in our next video.